Brazil is hot, not just for its beaches and music. Brazil is fashion and fresh, and the world is paying attention. Hi, I'm Ale Farah, and you are at Fashion Label Brasil. This podcast opens the doors of Brazilian fashion to the world, from effortless resortwear to funny accessories, from sexy and chic silhouettes to sustainable crafted pieces with soul. Everyone wants something made in Brazil, don't you? In this episode, I talk to 5 specialists who are turning the global desire into real business. The agents, consultants, and showroom leaders representing Brazilian brands across US, Europe, and Asia. If you are a buyer looking for Brazilian spirit, we are here to connect you with the right people. This episode is your backstage pass. Let's dive in. Let's start in New York City, where Alexandre from Asi & Co. is based. He's a fashion buyer and consultant who plays a key role in the internationalization of Brazilian brands in the US market. Hi, Alexandre. To begin, tell us about your work at Asi & Co.
Rafa started the agency as PR only, and then through the PR work, opportunities started to arise with a few of our fine jewelry brands launching in retailers in the US, namely Moda Operandi. At the time, we were representing a fine jewelry brand, and Moda was interested in launching the brand. And Rafa saw the opportunity to start doing some business development wholesale work. And then we started talking about working together, and I came in. And now you fast forward 7 years, we have over 10 or 13 clients in wholesale here at the showroom, and many more clients that we service from a PR capacity as well. And we love to be able to offer these combined services to our clients, right? Because one thing is related to the other when it comes to PR and sales. So some of our clients hire us for both services or just one or the other.
Ali, I know you work with many clients, not just Brazilian ones, but let's focus on the Brazilian brands. In your opinion, what sets them apart in the global fashion market?
Oh, wow. We have so much amazing fashion coming from Brazil, right? I think first and foremost, our beachwear is respected and loved across the globe. And I think we have quite a few brands that are operating internationally and achieving success here, namely Adriana de Greias, which is a brand I represented here at the showroom for 3 years. And I'm very proud of the work that we did together. If you look at Lenny Niemeyed, also a brand that is widely distributed in the international market. If you look at Vix, another great example of a brand that's doing so well in the international space. Outside of the beachwear, which I think it's almost an obvious for us, I see a lot of accessories brands also doing very well in the international market. I think the international market is really thirsty for handmade, handcrafted goods. And not only that, but that are made from natural materials, right? Which we are so rich in Brazil. I represent here at the showroom YY Rio, a brand that I've loved so much for so many years, that at the helm we have, Leo Neves as the creative director, who is a pleasure to work with. We're in a really exciting growth trajectory now with YY. The clients love not only the natural materials in the bags, like the wood and the rattan and the natural raffia, but also the designs themselves, which are so fun. I think the market is really thirsty now for fun accessories, and YY is delivering that in the best way possible. And I think price point as well, whether we like it or not, unfortunately, our currency in Brazil is quite weak now compared to the dollar. So this ends up becoming competitive for us. It puts us in a competitive advantage to be able to offer some of our products at a lower price point once you do the currency conversion.
I want to know more about the Brazilian brands that you like. We had podcast with Leo Neves from YY, the last one, the episode number 10. So if our listeners want to know about YY and other brands, they can listen us on episode 10. So now tell us a bit about your curatorial process and what makes a brand Asi worth, and tell me more about the brands that you like.
No, I was also going to mention, Ale, that we represent another beautiful handbags line, which has a higher price point because it's considered a designer product, as we call it here in the industry. Because when it comes to sales and, working with, for example, department stores in the United States, the brands are departmentalized. And it's based on not only design, but quality and price. So this other brand that I was mentioning is called C&V. I don't know if you know them, but it's a clutches brand. She's based in São Paulo, and the founder is French-Brazilian. And all the clutches are meticulously made in Brazil with beautiful wood marquetry work, Napa leather, natural leather, and then wood materials as well. But this is a designer brand. It's more expensive. The clutches retail, from $1,000 to $1,600, versus YY, which is a brand that falls in the advanced contemporary category, as we call it here in the US, where the price point is ranging between $400 and $700, nothing above that. And then when it comes to our evaluation of the brands, Ale, we like to have a very critiqued and curatorial eye when it comes to brands that are seeking international expansion. I think a lot of times designers are succeeding in their local countries, but they don't really understand the amount of work and effort that it takes for you to start to internationalize and investment, Ale. And it's a challenge for us in Brazil because, again, the currency exchange point that I made earlier becomes a limiting factor. You have to have money to be able to operate internationally. And I think it's very rare a case where a brand expands really fast. I've experienced here in my years now, running the showroom. Sometimes it takes up to 2 years for you to get that retailer that you really wanted, Ale. But basically, I think the point here is that you need to be consistent. You need to have, the time, the energy, and the budget to invest.
Thank you so much, Alexandre. It was a real pleasure hearing your perspective on the opportunities for Brazilian fashion brands in the international markets. And now we move forward from New York to Miami with Alessandra from AZM Showroom, another key player helping Brazilian fashion shine on the global stage. Hi Ale, welcome. Let's start with AZM. Can you tell us a bit about the showroom and the services you offer?
AZM is a consulting and sales agency that helps fashion brands grow internationally in a smart, strategic way. You can think of us, Ale, as an international head of sales for the brands we represent. We work closely with designers and founders, not just selling, but really helping them position their brand, shape their collections for different markets, and open the right doors globally. In this fast-moving forward world, it's not enough to just be creative, as you know. You need to have the right plan, pricing, timing, and connections. We support brands by introducing them to top buyers, guiding their sales strategy, and even nominating distributors or working with partner showrooms in places like Europe, the Middle East, and Asia. We are based in the United States, but we outreach basically worldwide for the brands. It's really about building a bridge between the creative side of the brand and the business side of the global market.
If I were setting up a store and wanted the best of Brazilian fashion, which brands would you absolutely recommend?
Some of the great Brazilian brands are Yukio. We launched Yukio 6 years ago. Since the day one the brand came to the international market, we've been working with them and they are performing very well. They are already in over 40 countries, all the continents, and doing very well. Another example is Catarina Mina, which is a wonderful brand full of purpose that's also doing very well internationally. We also work with other brands that are growing at this moment, but these two would be the ones that are more prepared and standing out in the international market at this moment.
In general, how do Brazilian brands stand out in the global fashion market?
What we see is that Brazilian brands have a very special energy. There's a kind of effortless elegance, a body use of color, and a way of creating that is deeply emotional and intuitive. What makes them stand out is their ability to be more authentic and innovative. There's a real storytelling behind the pieces, whether it comes from the artisanal roots, the sustainable values, or a modern take on femininity. And when that creative force is paired with commercial structure, it becomes a very compelling proposition internationally. Buyers really like the Brazilian brands.
If you have to give some tips for the Brazilian brands that are entering international markets, what would you say?
The first thing is aligning with international calendars. Buyers in USA, Europe are working on different schedules than in Brazil. So if the brand isn't ready with samples and materials at the right moment, they can miss out on real opportunities. Pricing is another big one. Many brands haven't prepared accordingly with their margins. They don't account for duties, shippings, and markups, so the price ends up too high or their profit too low. Another key issue is the communication, and that includes both messaging and visuals. The collection itself or the campaign images a brand might use for Brazil often don't resonate internationally. So we usually need to adapt or even rework the way the collection is presented so that it speaks the language of the market we are targeting, visually and emotionally. That's not just about changing the brand's identity. We don't change it at all, but it's translating it in a way that buyers and consumers abroad will connect with. My biggest advice would be take time to prepare properly. International expansion is not just about ambition, it's about structure, consistency, and having the right strategy for the long term.
In the last 6 years, do you see the Brazilian brands image like growing? How we are perceived today in the markets?
Yes, I see their image growing. I see that the buyers really like the product they see. They really like the unique selling proposition of the brands. They like the artisanal work. They like everything that is related to the storytelling of the Brazilian brands that are real. And the collections itself, I see that it's growing a lot and that there is a great demand for Brazilian brands here.
Ale, thank you so much for your time and insights today.
You're very welcome, Ali. It's my pleasure to be here with you and to be able to share a little bit of our insights. And I hope it helps the brands and the buyers worldwide.
And now we are leaving the US and heading to Italy. Hi, Ricardo. Welcome to Fashion Label Brasil Podcast. You are based in Milan, one of the great fashion capitals of the world. And we are excited to hear your perspective. To begin, could you introduce Senato 13 and tell us about its role in connecting Brazilian brands and international buyers?
The showroom was born more than 10 years ago in 2012. And it's led by Eleanor Cipriano that used to work in the past years before opening her showroom for big brands such as Dolce & Gabbana and Moncler Group. We used to work together before she opened the first showroom. At a certain point of her career, she felt that after working for big brands, it was quite interesting to explore a new world in fashion. It's the world of emerging brands, emerging talents. Senato 13 is taking care to present as a multi-brand showroom new emerging talents and to support them in all the activity, which is also supporting the product management. But of course, the main activity is to grow up the business, the sales, and the distribution worldwide. Actually, we work in most of the markets with the most important shops, so high-end level, but also medium-high level, which is a very interesting part of the market these days. Our activity is to lead and to bring the brands in terms of image, in terms of communication, but especially in terms of sales in front of a graft and to establish their own business turnovers. This is a part of the activity. Leonor, being Brazilian, even if she has been living in Italy for more than 30 years nowadays, she also felt very interesting to create a bridge between Brazilian fashion reality and European, Italian reality. That's another very important part of the activity. She started to dialogue with the Brazilian brands and to give them the same opportunities that she started and we started to give to the Made in Italy brands.
In your opinion, which Brazilian brands are a must for international buyers right now?
We have been cooperating for a few seasons with Agua de Coco, which is a leader brand, of course, from the swimwear. And it's a company that is very established on the international market, but it's not so well known in Europe yet. Thanks to the work that our showroom is doing and to their great international approach, we are growing this brand also and making the brand being well known also in Italy and in other European countries. We had then the opportunity to work with another great brand, I think, Catarina Mina, which makes really a great product. In terms of creativity, we think that Brazilians are really the number one because some of the collections that they do, like in the case of Agua de Coco, but also in case of other brands like Catarina Mina and Adriana de Gresse, we found really something amazing that European brands don't show in their collection.
And what are the main challenges that brands face when entering global markets?
What we believe could be a good suggestion and the support to the Brazilian brands is in terms of understanding and have a mutual support for the trade of the product. Because we operate in different hemispheres, and even if this in many activities cannot be a problem, in fashion, which is very linked to seasonality, could be sometimes a little bit more difficult. As you know, the seasons that we are approaching now, for instance, is spring, summer, while in Brazil you are getting into winter. Yeah. So this is a thing that even if can be worked and managed, sometimes creates some little difficult in terms of deliveries. So we believe it should be very important to focus very well on this issue and try to understand which could be the best delivery term for Europe. Which is sometimes is not very easy because also Made in Italy brands sometimes have some difficulties. We try to give all our best support for this and we believe that season by season everything can be at the best.
Ricardo, I thank you so much for your expertise in helping Brazilian fashion and talking to us.
Thank you very much.
Before I wrap up, let's hear from two Brazilian experts based in London. First up is Manu Amaro, founder of platform Blank. Manu has a fascinating professional background and has been working to promote Brazilian talent in the UK and beyond. Hi Manu, welcome. To start, can you tell us about the mission of Blank?
Hi Ale. Nice to be here. Thank you for the invitation. I have an extensive career in the marketing and technology areas. During my executive career, I had the chance to work with many independent designers and brands. I became an enthusiast of this industry. This is how I ended up creating Blank, which is a platform. Primarily, it's like a software that manages the admin and the sales back office. This is what digital platforms are. It organizes all the brand's assets, like brand content, their lookbooks, their price lists, their collections, and also the back office of dealing with sales and relating to their buyers, all the admin processes. But the difference is that it is also like a live software. It is able to stream the collections and this content to the brand's current or potential new buyers.
What role does Blank play in today's fashion ecosystem, especially when it comes to brand strategy and international expansion?
We have two main services. The first one is called Core, and it's mainly the digital tool where brands can organize their assets, their collections. They can also integrate with their system. Let's say they are working with Shopify and they can integrate the Shopify operations and sell the inventory that they have in Brazil, for example. Mm-hmm. So the Core plan, it's like the basic plan. And then we have the Pro. It's like a combination of the core together with marketing campaigns. And that's what really differentiates us from other platforms, because when you go to other platforms, unless you do like your homework and your efforts to bring your buyers or attention to your page, I mean, the buyers, they don't know you are there. You are one more brand in the middle of like thousands of brands. While if you have the Pro package, we let the buyer know that you are in the platform. So we activate the brand, their collections through like digital campaigns, newsletters, paid media, social media.
Manu, which brands would you highlight in Blank's portfolio?
I don't know all the brands because there are so many brands, but I think the brands that are performing nowadays are like Vitor Zerbinato, Gapas, Osklen. Blank is for any kind of brand. I mean, it's again a management tool that will manages the brand the way the brand has its own strategy. It adapts because the technology itself, it's very customizable. If a brand sells to more than 10 countries, they pay half of the price. So that's if you're selling already, I mean, you pay less.
In your view, what's essential for Brazilian brands to succeed globally?
First thing is to understand that this is like a medium, long-term strategy. It's not, I mean, if a brand goes one time or doesn't think in a long-term strategy, they will sell products, they won't build brand positioning. Going to a platform, it's a very good way to start because you learn so many things before going in person. But going in person, it's also very important. You can go in person first to have like a trial, to see how it is, to research, right? To get to know people who you would compete with and also start relationship with buyers. But I would say that if you do not have like a channel, like a constant channel, like a platform, it's going to be very hard for you to put all together. But again, so this is just my initial advice. And if the brands decide to come to Blank, of course, we're going to be very happy. And we have a whole team to support. So this is another thing that we do that other platforms, they don't. We have a very big supporting team in order to help the brands to develop all those areas that we talked about.
Thank you, Manu. Wishing you all the best with Blank. And now, let's welcome our last guest, also join us from London, Alaine from Intramarca Consulting. Hi, Alaine. To begin, can you tell us about Intramarca and how you support Brazilian fashion brands entering the international markets?
A consultancy agency, we are a small agency, and we help brands expand into international markets, but with a much more niche and cater to these smaller brands needs rather than, big corporations. Because we work with smaller brands, we try to do the initial process for them to understand what they need to do internally in Brazil to be able to start selling to the international market. So this could be from setting up logistics or partnering with a trading company because they don't have the structure internally to export themselves, to the part where we start putting the product in front of the buyers and taking the brands to trade shows, or even setting up seasonal events with showrooms to showcase the brands.
Over the past 12 years working with Brazilian brands abroad, what shifts have you seen, both in the brands themselves and in how international buyers perceive them?
On the buyer side, I have worked often, so it's interesting because I think I use the Brazilian approach to sale, which is I have all buyers on my WhatsApp, which is not something that is very common in other markets, especially in the UK. So it's not that, you know how we do business through WhatsApp in Brazil, that doesn't happen here. But I have that approach with buyers, so I have them on WhatsApp. And I have had buyers who were just kind of saying, would you do a collaboration with me where you just help me source a lot of Brazilian brands and then go through them? Because often buyers send people to search for brands in Brazil. So it's much cheaper if they can find a way of doing that here. Mm-hmm. And I have often kind of prepared a catalog of brands that I like and believe, and then just displayed it to them. And sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. So it depends on what they're looking, and that price point is very important. So you need to marry all of the things that the buyer is looking for, which is price point and offering and timing.
Let me ask you, what are some of the main challenges the Brazilian brands still face, and what advantages do they bring to the global market?
Quality was a challenge. I don't think is a challenge anymore. I think we have matured in terms of our fabrics are very good in Brazil. The technology that we use in our fabrics is outstanding as well. We didn't have that competitive advantage, I think 12 years ago, and now we do. I also think especially for resortwear or fabrics, especially the technology and the lycra and everything, it's definitely something that we've kind of pioneered. I also think that 12 years ago we were very labeled for sexy, kind of exuberant fashion. I don't think we're not labeled in that way anymore. I think Brazilian fashion is shown to be very mature. It's still audacious, but not within the realms of I'm a Brazilian brand, I'm selling you as a Brazilian brand. I don't think the buyers do that anymore. They are looking for that unique selling point, that special offer, but the selling point is not this is a Brazilian brand. It's just what they have to offer that matters rather than where they come from. And I think that's a good step for us in terms of maturity. Mm-hmm. So that we're not sold for sexy bikinis anymore. Our bikinis are sold because they are very good quality, because the fabrics are interesting, and because the fit is perfect.
If I were a buyer looking to invest in Brazilian fashion, which brands would you recommend I bring into my store?
We have a few, right? So for example, Pat Bow is one that have established internationally very well. I think they did very well in their style as well. When you see a Pat Bow dress, it's a Pat Bow dress, and the bags. So they managed to keep that through offering, which is this is my client and this is the style that my client is after, and they kept that essence in the brand. And I think that is definitely translated into the fame that they gained internationally. So it's the same with Farm Rio. Farm Rio is a established brand. They obviously started with baby steps as well. It didn't start from the one day to another, but they are definitely established now. They have amazing stores internationally, and their approach is very stable. Some of my favorite brands that I have worked with and I still work with is, I have Marina Bitu. I think they're doing a really beautiful work. It's a ready-to-wear brand, but I feel their style is true. I've worked with them for several years now, and their collection has that specific style that is the same as I said, with Pat Bow, and it offers a unique kind of, I think her style is very bold, and I think she doesn't look for what's selling. She just cares about what she likes designing, and that is cool. I also like Aloof. I haven't actually directly worked with them yet, but I think their style is amazing. It's different. It's what you would see internationally in any runway. So I think they have a very unique style as well. I have Cura, which is a brand that does a little bit of clothing as well, but they do like a crochet with Buriti, which is a type of straw. And her work is amazing because she does shoes with that and bags. And I feel like it's very delicate and it's very beautiful. Yeah, and the story behind it is beautiful as well because it's a sustainable brand and they work with women and etc. So I think like this storytelling is amazing behind it. And I think that sells very well because it's beautiful content to look at as well. I also work with
Flávia Aranha.
Yeah, Flávia Aranha, I love. If I was to pick one brand that I would, like if it was the world is gonna end and you can only choose one brand to take with you, I would probably choose Flávia Aranha because I find her work beautiful. I think it's like poetry, to look at because she naturally dyes her fabrics, which I know is not something completely groundbreaking because it's been done before, but the way she does it with the natural ingredients, it has that connection with the Brazilian ingredients. But also she took natural dyeing to a different level because she does the prints as well with the dye, which is like, you don't know what's going to come out, right? The prints are just whatever the materials that she chose does to the fabric. So I think it's a very unique work and really entertaining to watch and to see how she developed her collections.
Thank you, Alaine.
Thank you for having me as well.
And that's a wrap for this special episode of Fashion Label Brasil. We have heard from incredible voices from New York, Miami, Milan, and London, all working to connect Brazilian fashion with the world. Their experiences, challenges, and insights are a powerful reminder. Brazilian fashion is bold, diverse, and ready for the global stage. To all buyers out there, if you are looking for fresh design, authentic storytelling, and brands with real cultural value, you'll find it made in Brazil. And now you also know who to contact. A big thank you to all our guests, Alexandre, Alessandra, Ricardo, Manu, and Alaine. And of course, thank you for listening. This podcast is brought to you by ABEST and ApexBrasil. I'm Ale Farah, and I'll see you in the next episode of Fashion Label Brasil. Ciao!